When we think about horror, there's really three popular eras that define the genre. There's bad tank controls a la Resident Evil, there's the shoot everything era, and there's the modern era of hide in lockers in this dark maze. And really, we could probably add Phasmo clones now. So today, we are going to go deep dive into none of those eras. We're talking RPGs, baby. Gaming history is paved by the victors, both the big budget success and the surprise underdogs that changed the game. But for every game that hit its mark and found its audience, we have hundreds, even thousands, that never did. Whether a good idea poorly implemented, or a fantastic game that just never found its market, decades of gaming have fallen into obscurity. Here on Gaming Unearthed, we'll uncover the past, one forgotten pixel at a time. Up front, I probably missed your favorite example. As an apology for failing your favorite game, the best one in the world, I've included a rapid fire list with a whole bunch more at the end. People generally know that this game is one of the inspirations for Resident Evil, but they don't know much about the game itself. Based on a horror movie of the same name, you play as a team of filmmakers investigating an old mansion. As you enter, you're trapped by a resident ghost and forced to fight for survival in the haunted mansion. Mechanically, it's really a game of inventory management. You need to pick up items that can be used to solve puzzles. Many tools both serve a mechanical purpose and function in combat. It's not a game of immediate scares, but it's a slow descent. Damage is next to nothing, and you can take seemingly a beating. But there's a limited number of healing items throughout the mansion, and the longer you spend exploring and grinding, the fewer items there are. If you can follow the limited text, you get a legit cool storyline, and the gameplay is pretty solid. And there's even QTEs, because that was like the 1989 thing to do. But if you do go and play this game, do yourself a favor and use a guide. Some of the late game puzzles are pretty obtuse and you'll save yourself a lot of stress. Also, check out Cthulhu Mythos on Steam. It's a modern indie take on this exact formula and also well recommended.
You'll have to pardon me while I tend to some unfinished business first.
Business? What can you possibly accomplish in your condition? You can't even hold your gun steady.
Well, no unless I try. That thing's not gonna die unless I shoot it 2 or 3 times.
Koudelka is the demon spawn of survival horror with a tactical RPG. You explore Dark Monastery collecting items and clues while fighting off random encounters with hellish beasts. You're not going to be jump scared, nor are you likely to feel weak and afraid. The art director even stated that they designed the game that even people that don't normally play games could see the ending. While resources are fairly limited and weapons break, there's enough random drops that you'll replenish or at least have a way out. We've got a beautifully designed infested monastery, absolutely fantastic enemy design, catchy music, and solid voice acting.
Almighty God, please give me the strength to ward off these monsters.
I can see that we've wasted our time here. Let's go, Koudelka.
Just a minute. Although I'm under the protection of the Lord, it doesn't hurt to take precautionary measures.
It's dripping with theme and the overall experience is well crafted. It was actually the first game I beat on stream, and it's one that I often want to replay. And Koudelka is followed up with the Shadowheart series, which takes more of a traditional JRPG route. It's a little less horror, but it's still well worth playing. In Mythos: The Beginning, you are a renowned paranormal investigator, and you're tasked with exploring an abandoned asylum to find some missing students. Obviously, with a name like Mythos, unspeakable horrors lie within. Mechanically, this really walks the line between JRPG and pure graphic adventure. The combat is insanely harsh, the supplies are super limited, and the game encourages you to avoid combat and sneak around. But the real draw here is a highly flexible character customization system that lets you upgrade both your stats and passive skills. These skills make it possible to bypass nearly every puzzle, key door, and boss. This means that any two playthroughs can be entirely different depending on your chosen skill set. And this ultimately makes it feel a lot more story focused than about combat growth. But there is a case of imbalance here. During my own playthrough I got overpowered and combat became a non-issue. While this definitely hurts the experience, it was still a great game. To understand our next game, you really have to understand its origin. The port we're looking at is very different than its source. So, Group SNES is a company in the Japanese tabletop RPG space. They localized a bunch of games, they created a bunch more of their own. One such line was the Ghost Hunters RPG. Ghost Hunters RPG had a line of first-person dungeon crawls. Basically, imagine what Wizardry was to Dungeons & Dragons, or maybe vice versa. I can't read Japanese, so the details of how it all works are a bit blurry. Now, this line never crossed the States. The closest that we've ever come to it is a fan translation of the Super NES port. That's what we're looking at today. In LaPlace No Ma, you create an investigator to check out the Weathertop Manor. At the local bar, you'll meet other investigators who'll join your party. The gameplay on the SNES port was changed to a top-down view. This makes the game far less of a maze while still following the core quest and experience design of a standard dungeon crawl. You enter the house, find items, complete quests, fight monsters, get stronger, and escape back to town when your supplies are running out. The horror here is a theme, but it's definitely not central to gameplay. Your investigators are heroic adventurers, and it's a traditional dungeon crawl, just set in the occult world of the 1920s. Combat has you fighting all manner of creatures ranging from zombies to ghosts to, doors. These threats can damage you both physically and target your sanity, which doubles as your resource for casting magic spells. This stuff is straight out of Call of Cthulhu. In truth, the SNES port is questionable quality. There's a large number of bugs and unfinished quests in the game. But this game, right here, made me fall in love with a series that I can't even read. I even own a copy of their board game. And now we are going to end on one of the single best horror RPGs that I have ever played. Designed by two hobbyists in 1998, they set out to create a video game that crossed the boundaries that traditional developers couldn't in terms of violence and gore. In Peret Em Haru, For the Prisoners, you play as a tour group in Egypt that discovers these underground ruins and a river there. The totally not suspicious archaeologist motivates you all to go deeper and to explore for history. Soon, your party finds themselves having their virtues tested by an ancient pharaoh, and those found unworthy will die in the most violent of ways. This is a direct blend of JRPG combat with highly limited supply of recovery items, and puzzling adventure aspects as you try to explore the tomb and keep the rest of your team alive. The combat often feels more like a time limit as it's draining your supplies of items. Unlike a lot of these games, it's much more character focused, and I found myself desperately trying to keep people alive. This game really shows off everything that I look for in a good horror RPG. It creates a good emotional connection, it has good solid mechanics, and it hits every button of both genres. And now for the rapid fire list. Do you see your favorite on there? If not, let me know down below. When we make a horror game, you're picking a spot on a spectrum between theme and terror. But we don't want to forget that there's an entire middle ground that the players can feel. Systems like attrition and injuries can create a reverse power curve, allowing the player to grow weaker over time. There's a reason most of these games used adventure elements like puzzles and QTEs. Situations where your strength doesn't matter allow you to reset the power dynamic. Emotions are relative. It'll be far more impactful if you can make the player feel safe, and then you tear it away, rather than basing the entire game around hiding in lockers or just blowing things up.